Hi everyone, it's Harry from AmeriCamp here. Thank you so much for tuning in again or for the first time to Around the Campfire podcast, the ultimate summer camp podcast. I am here with Freddy today, who has come on here to kind of talk about his AmeriCamp experience because it is a little bit different to some normal applicants that we have done podcasts with. So Freddie, it'll be good if you can kind of just introduce yourself. Obviously, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I think when we've both spoke a little bit, I think your story is going to be great for the podcast. So if you can just introduce yourself and just say which camp you've been to, what roles, what years, just all of that jazz.
Yeah, absolutely. First and foremost, thank you very much for letting me do this. This is an absolute pleasure for me. Um, Obviously, my name's Freddy. I've been doing camp. I've been using AmeriCamp for this will now be my fourth summer. I first applied way back in 2019, so before COVID. I applied for summer 2020. Obviously, we know that COVID happened. I then reapplied. I got into a place actually over COVID, got into a camp. It was quite an interesting process. It was like my third camp I chose. We can go into the camp later, but I reapplied again in 2021 after COVID, and these camps were kind of bringing more international staffs back because it was a year or two before they kind of wanted to bring people like us back. Got into the same camp, asked to come back, and since 2022, which was the first summer I had with them, been going every summer. It's been a really interesting story. I'm sure we'll get into it. It's upwards trajectory, if you will. Yeah, so I'm going back this summer. Should be a lot of fun.
Amazing. Sounds great. What was the camp? What was your role? Let's just go into it because I know that we've had kind of different roles as the years have went on. So where did we start? How we ending? What was the journey?
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely been. I would say it's been a roller coaster. I mean, the first year was I applied really simply just to be at this camp called Summer at Sandy Spring, which is based in Maryland, which on far east coast. The camp is like about 30 minutes away from Washington DC, so it's super good for transport and stuff like that. My role in my first year was sports specialist, which was just I went into it with the mindset of I want to teach sports all day, every day to kids, all age groups. It was a lot of fun. It was really good. It was very similar, to be honest, to what I was already doing. I was already coaching on weekends here, teaching, coaching sports. So it was really good. It was a Americanized version of what I was doing. I enjoyed it a lot. It was I didn't think that anything else would come after that. I think I came back with the mindset after applying for the second year and being like, oh, well, I'm just going to go back and do the same thing. It was an amazing experience with new set of people. Um, but long story short, the second year they asked me to, the people at camp, they basically asked me to be the international coordinator. So it's kind of like being a resident assistant. So you're on site, you're doing the same job as you would have during the day. But this camp was a day camp. So after 4 p.m., I think it would be, we would have no kids. You just have your evenings, your late afternoons, if you will, just to do whatever you want as a group. All lived in like a dormitory. So it's like uni. It's really nice community kind of vibe, if you will. And my role was pretty much just to be like on site, obviously, in charge of all the staff. If there's any problems with the rooms, personal things, everything like food, everything in general. So I was the only staff member that would be on site. Everyone else would be, living back at their house and having a nice evening. So that was my role. That was the second year, and that was also the same role last year. So I know
Amazing.
there's a lot to kind of speak about, but yeah, that was the last 2 years uh, being given as well as sports during the day. So my hours were pretty long. I mean, I was waking up at about 5 a.m. every day with the people that had us. So they were doing like bus duties where we would have people get on their school buses, drive to all the bus stops, collect kids. So I'd have to get up with them. Sorry to get on the bus, but I had to be up with the first lot. And then my off hours, when no one else could bother me and I'd be absolutely free, would be about 10 p.m.
Oh my god.
So yeah, it was pretty intense. But the evenings where you're meant to be, where being on duty, it's not that intense. Very friendly. You're just there to any help. I'd say
Yeah.
pretty good.
I think it's that's such a cool and different dynamic as well to what a lot of people think of summer camp to be like. Obviously, people on social media, they will just post their big traditional overnight sleepaway camps in Pennsylvania and New York, and they don't realize that there are things like day camps where they are a little bit more urban as well, where obviously you're going to be living in like a uni complex, things like that, because there is quite a few in America, and people don't really tend to realize that that's another option. And I think a lot of people, especially at camp fairs, when they get interviewed by camps like these, they get really, really nervous and they're like, oh my God, this is not for me. This is not what I signed up for. I wanted a big traditional sleepaway summer camp. And they just kind of disregard these types of camps straight away. So in your opinion, Freddie, what was the positives to your camp being at a day camp? Because a lot of people will think that, oh, I'm going to go for a day camp because it's less work. Whereas obviously it's not. There's a lot more preparation, as I know, into day camps because you have to do so much for the next day, even when you're off the clock. So yeah, in your opinion, what makes a day camp different, unique, and a good camp to go for?
Yeah, I mean, being in charge of the staff each year, having this set group, I got to speak to so many people that are also returners from other camps. So, for example, I've never been at a overnight camp, and it's something I have never experienced, right? But I've met so many people, returners that come to our place. And the previous summer, they've been to these overnight camps, which I'm pretty sure in saying they're probably a hell of a lot more common than these day camps. My experience, I've only been to state camps. So the differences that I've heard from them, but also the differences that I have at our day camp are huge, but also the level of you had to put in is very similar. We finish up. We still have like an art camp kind of setting where we have PM care where kids will stay till 6 p.m. So even people that will be like, oh, day camp, I get to, well, you're still working till 6 p.m. You're going straight to dinner, and also the biggest thing we always push our staff members, especially that are doing like different lessons each day, is you need a plan for those lessons. You might think, oh, it's a day camp, this is great, but you still need a plan for those next lessons the next day. We have people, in their evenings, they might think, oh, great, I just go out and party and do this. But the reality is, you will be spending your evenings being still having a nice time, but you'll be there in your room doing up lesson plans, doing up everything you need to do for the next lesson. Because coordinators, which is actually a role we'll be doing this summer now, where they'll go around the camp during the day. They'll say, "Hey, what do you need for tomorrow's like equipment, materials for different settings and classroom stuff?" And if you don't turn up with like a list and say exactly what you're doing, we're going to look at you like, "Hey, what's going on? Are you just thinking of stuff on the top of the head?" Which isn't good.
Yeah.
So exactly what you're saying. People might think, and people do. There's plenty of staff members that I've come across that go, kick their feet back and be like, "This is amazing. I get to go sit by our lake after all the kids are going to just sunbathe all evening." Um, don't get me wrong, you do. I don't want to make it sound like it's hell and it's not. It's awful when there's no kids, but you start putting the work big time because we've had people that don't get that.
Yeah,
So,
and we've spoke about this previously that it's good because we both come from leadership roles at camp, and I think one of the really good things to touch on is camp is hard. It's glamorized a lot, and I'll put my hands up and say every single agency glamorizes summer camp work because we have to. But I'm all about being transparent and showing that it has its good parts, but it also has its bad parts. The bad parts being sometimes it's a lot of work, and what we struggle with as leaderships at camp is you will get staff, and it happens every single year, no matter what camp you go to, that are just there to have fun, and they don't realize that it's a job at the end of the day. So it's good to get that refreshing side of things coming from another leader at camp, being like, this happens all the time. And I think what my advice would be to people who are listening is you've really got to understand what you're getting yourself into, that it is a job, you're looking after children, and that should be the utmost priority when you're going to camp. You know, you are there to look after these kids and provide them with a really good summer. So I don't know if you have any advice, Freddie, for people who are maybe going to camp or thinking of going to camp who, don't have like a clear judgment on what they're getting themselves into, like just words of wisdom, because you obviously have done it for years now. Just what you would say to them.
Well, in reality, it's just backing up what you're saying. Like Paul Cross, they think it's not a job, and the reality is, if I could speak, like I've had plenty of chats with our staff, like one-on-ones in groups where it's need halfway across the summer, and I sit them down and say, look, I get it. You're here for the good time. That's what you're thinking in your mind is the whole time is going to be a great time. You're going to be away from your family, all that kind of stuff. Get to the end of summer, have those 30 days that everyone talks about over social media, and go and have your fun with groups of people, wherever you want. Meet up from other camps. After camp, you get to do whatever you want. And it is an amazing time. That is what is like, people talk about over social media and as you say, glamorize. Big time. The 30 days after is a huge thing. Some people say, like, just go and do that for the experience. The reality is, you're at camp, day camp, night camp, whatever it is. You need to work. The kids are there to have fun. You need to monitor the kids. There's a job to be done. Everyone's, part of this team. I can only talk about my experience with our organization. My first year, I was, I went into it going, well, this is great. I get to go across the US after and during. And I was that person. I get it. I totally get it. But once I had more of a higher up role, if you will, I got to see behind the curtain of
Yeah.
the organization that I was working behind. I got to see how much work goes into it 6 months before camp starts, and also months after with the cleanup, with everything. And it's a serious organization, each one of these camps. So if you turn up on day one, it's just going to be a holiday. Yeah, please don't, because there are a lot of people like you and me who've had roles and have roles where I'm even talking to my staff now who are in America. They're like liars who are asking a lot of just about the holidays and all the fun stuff. I'm like, great, that sounds we've already got another one. So I get it. I
Yeah.
totally get it.
And I know that people will probably look at you and look at me and think, oh, well, they got into that leadership position just because that's what they wanted from the get go. And, it gets given to people. But my experience is that I had to work myself up to get to a leadership position. And I imagine it's the same for you. If you can rewind back to your first summer, Freddie, and you went in that first year, might be a long time ago, but you need to think, what did you like? Did you go into it thinking this is going to be something I do for years, or was that something that kind of progressed throughout the years?
I mean, first of all, you're right. It was a long time, and that person compared to now is an absolutely different person. Even though that was 2022, it doesn't sound that far away. But that first year changed a lot in me. I mean, as I said, I went into it going, this is going to be a fun time. I'm not taking it, you know, super seriously, but I'm also not going to be super laid back. I already had that kind of experience of working with kids already. Um, I mean, after my first year, I'm thinking back at the first summer, the reason I wanted to come back was a lot of reasons. It could be down to, I mean, great relationships with the staff, the higher staff there. Um, Also the kids and families, like even just the families I got really close to. Um, I loved the area. I absolutely, that's one of the hugest reasons I keep going back to that camp. It's because it is phenomenal. It's, weekends you can go anywhere. As is a day, weekends are free. DC, New York. You can go to New York for the weekend. Like, you might be closer to New York in New York State, but for this camp where we are, we're 30 minutes away from DC, 2 hours, 3 hours away from New York. We've got Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, all those kinds of things are super close. But more based on camp, it after the first year, I thought, well, I'll just do another year. And then when the role was given to me, I think I took it a hell of a lot more seriously, as you probably would, as anyone would. Um, and I just, as I said before, I got to see behind the curtain of this organization and what goes into these camps. Um, and I loved it. I don't know. There was just something in me that I just absolutely loved the amount of people that are committed to just the summer. And that's probably the biggest thing I would say is 2019 when I applied, I go, okay, well, it's like 2.5, 3 months, however long it is. That's it. And as I said, when you look behind the curtain, it's a whole year round. Like
Yeah.
we started work on this summer back in October last year, just September even.
Yeah.
So we were, starting to hire people, and it's a huge ordeal. But I find it a lot. I find a lot of fun in it. So
Yeah. And some people think of summer camp work as just a one and done thing. We
mm,
get it loads. Even when I went to camp my first year, there was loads of people there who just said, "Oh, I'm only here for 1 year," and then they've went back
mm,
for a second, and then a third, and then a fourth. And I think that's just the stigma with summer camp work. I think is that people think you just do it for 1 year and then you're done because you're just this throwaway counselor. No one really cares, but
mm,
I mean, you're a testament to if you go, you enjoy it, you can progress, you can become a leader, which in turn gives you more money, you get a better salary. And
yeah,
again, people don't realize that either. They think the minimum salary that agencies offer is just the only salary you will get. But I always try
mm,
and say, no, you can earn like thousands of dollars. We're not talking just like 2,000, 2,500. Like, you can earn quite a lot. I mean, I did when I went back. I'm sure you have as well, and loads of people do as well. And I think that's something that is so positive about it too. Um, so yeah, it's just so good that you are going back again in a different role. What's different about the role that you're going into this summer to your previous one?
Uh, this summer, it'll be the first. I believe it'll be the first summer I will not be doing any sports, which is a bit different for me. I'm a sports teacher at heart. I'm a coach on the weekends. I do everything. My life is in sports, so I won't be doing any sports for this summer. My new role during the day, as I spoke a little bit about earlier, is going to be a coordinator. So for our camp, we have our admins, which are like, we wear black tops. We help out the rest of the staff all day long. We all have different roles with different groups. So for me, I will be a coordinator with our specialties. So it's almost like I was a sports specialty. So you'll have sports, you can have sewing, you can have all these different kind of workshops, if you will, as people will know. And those people will be put into a group of specialties. And you'll have this one person who will go around, as I spoke earlier about, they'll go around, do you need more materials? Do you need to do orders for certain things, equipment? And also, if you have children misbehaving in those classes, so if there's kids are misbehaving, then those staff members will come to me over our radios and say, "Hey, it's not working out." After one, two, three, even the first time, and it'll be my job to go and get the kid, have a talk. If it's not working out, you go back to the office. Go back to the office. Sorry, with the kid, which is already a role I kind of already did as stepping in to do this, but you make big phone calls, you call home, you speak to these parents who, in reality, some of these camps are full of certain types of parents who are just, like don't want to deal with anything like that. They're at work, you get it. So you're on phone calls that are awkward. You're on phone calls that are just a bit like, oh, your kid punched this kid, or your kid's doing this, and
Yeah.
you have to have hard phone calls. You have to have awkward moments at camp, and that's just the reality. Past what people probably think. Oh, it's camp. It's fun. You get to play with the kids in the water, and it is interesting. I have some of my staff. I remember last year, we all went out near the end of camp, as like a kind of celebratory kind of like we're done with camp. we all went out, spoke about like how we had our summer and stuff. And I had so many people asking me, it's like, what, I didn't really see you much over during the day. And, what were you doing during the day? And I was like, okay, you really want to know. And I tell them stories about all these, situations with kids, situations with staff. I've sat in front of staff and unfortunately had to have talks about them leaving camp and leaving the country. There's serious like
Yeah.
chats you have, and that is a huge deal to an organization as ever because you have to go and then look out for hiring new people. And they're always, I remember last time I was so shocked. I was like, oh, I thought I had, just Jimmy in the corner of the classroom misbehaving. No, no, no. There's a lot of us who are dealing with a hell of a lot more, nasty stuff, if you will. But I don't want to put a bad picture on the camp, but it's a reality that a lot of people don't know about, these kinds of roles. It's some people might look at me and go, well, why would you want to go back to that if it's like that? But as you say, there's a lot of incentives, if it's reality, if it's money, if it's, I get a lot more freedom with what I like to do in my job. It's less, pointing the finger and just being like, this is what you're doing, that's it. It's really nice. I really enjoy having my group of internationals, if you will, getting to know them at the start. Like at the moment, we're setting up, it's, March now. We're getting ready to set up our group chats with all of them, giving out emails. So they're all coming to me with questions. There's a lot of fun into it. There's a lot of fun. It's good.
Yeah, it's great. And I think the thing with being a leader on an exchange program like this is, like you said, it is tough. You have to make really tough calls. I was the same. I managed staff. I had to manage the children if a child went out of line. It was a little bit different at traditional camps because there is such a level of authority where even though I'm a leadership figure, there's so many steps above me. So I still had to make tough decisions, but not to the point where I was telling staff that they had to leave the country and things
Yeah.
like that. But it's great because it really does help you for future life in every single career option if you want to become management at some point in your life. People think, oh, you're just a leader at a summer camp, like that means nothing. But it really does set you up because you're making such tough decisions that do translate into the real world. I mean, I'm a manager in my actual job in the UK, and I honestly think that being a leader over in the States has really
Yeah.
helped me with this as well. And it's the completely different contrast the jobs. So I think it's good from your perspective because obviously you do teaching in the UK and stuff, and I just think it translates so well. I'm gonna segue onto kind of your specific camp because I feel like it is so different to a lot of just the traditional camps that we see everywhere. And we do have camps like your camp come to camp fairs, and like I said, people do get nervous when they get a placement for it and they don't know if they should accept it. So, in your words, why would you recommend a day camp like yours? Because it is different.
It is different. I know earlier I spoke about, well, you're going to have this time off, but you're still going to be working. But as I said, you have both. Like you are going to be finishing for. I can only speak about my camp. I've been there for it will be 4 years this summer, and we have staff members that might wake up really early, as I say, like 5 a.m. to do buses. You get chosen to do that. You get chosen to do that, but you know, your day is from usually about 8 a.m., 7 a.m. all the way till 6 p.m. So after 6 p.m., we have dinner. You're going to be there for as long as you want. It's usually a maximum of an hour. After seven, you can, if you do have lessons to plan, you can do that. Unless you have like free periods the next day where you can plan the day ahead. That's what a lot of people do, which I've found. So in reality, you can, from 7 p.m. all the way on, you can spend your evenings doing whatever. I mean, our camp is so lucky with the location. We have a town called Olney. It's literally has everything you want from America. If you're an international from anywhere across the world and you want to try all these American, restaurants and fun activities, that all these types of foods, or go out and do these stuff, it's literally on the doorstep. It's probably about a 20-minute walk. Via Uber, it's probably about 2 minutes. So the Ubers come all the way onto our campus. It's like a school campus. Um, this is just an experience from my day camp. People literally will go some people won't stay for dinner. After 6 p.m. when they're done, they go get changed. They're going out for dinner. And that's the luxury of having a day camp is there are no kids after they're gone. Like
Mhm.
that is it. The last kids are gone. You can have your whole evening. We have had a couple of different, ways of doing things with returning. So like returning late at night and stuff like that. You do have like a curfew, which is kind of during the summer. It kind of goes up and down depending on what people are like. People do go out on a Tuesday night and get back at 3 a.m. And if there's a problem the next morning, then there's a problem. We had to deal with it, and there's going to be a problem for everyone. That's the reality. Is we like to think that if you can have a nice time late at night and you come back and you're okay the next day, but you have to be okay, then we'll be fine. But if
Yeah.
you know, if it's not going well, we had to tell the rest of the group that it's not going well. So that's the reality. But it's a really nice luxury. I mean, as I said earlier, I spoke to so many people that are returners that come to our camp and they spend 1 week of working and they go, oh my God, like I don't have to wake up in the middle of the night and deal with a kid that wants to go to the toilet. And as I said, in my mind, I'm like, that's weird. I've never had to deal with that.
Yeah.
Like I've had this great experience where I'm sleeping all the way through till whenever I wake up and it's great. Um, I mean, oh yeah, I would hugely advise people to look at these day camps and go, they're really good, especially for maybe if you want to do a couple of years, if you want to do camp for a couple of years, even if you did a day camp for your first year and you had a nice experience and you got to have like um, a nice experience in your first year to settle in, and then maybe in your second year you can go all out and go and have the real camp experience, or vice
Yeah.
versa. It doesn't matter, but it is such a different experience that you could very easily do 2 years of camp and do one of each. I would advise that. I've never done a night camp, as I said, but I genuinely would. I think they're so different, and there's a lot of positives to take away from both of them. I think I can't speak on night camps and overnight camps, but I feel like you are so involved and so invested in these kids even more when they're staying with you. That there's a lot of positives from them. Um, but as I say, for us guys that have day camps, it's a hell of a lot of fun after the kids go home.
Yeah, I mean, I would encourage everyone, like you said, to try multiple camps as well. Obviously, when you do go to a camp for the first time, you do become very loyal to them. And I feel like I am my camp till I die. Like, I love that place, second home, as you will be with your camp as well. But I really do like to encourage people to try different camps because they do share very similar struggles as well. Like when you said, if someone screws up on a night and the next day they ruin it for everyone, and it's the same in a traditional overnight camp as well. If you come back to the bunk and you are, you throw up in the bunk with the kids there, everyone's curfew will be like changed, and that's just the reality of it is, and that's just the reality of being an adult in a situation where you have to be responsible. And again, it
Mm.
just goes back to the fact that you need to go into this summer knowing that you have a duty of care for these children. But it's tough. It's tough to get that across sometimes. So it's good to know that, day camps and sleepaway camps have the same struggles as well. I'm gonna go on to the last question from myself because I know I'm a little bit wary of time.
That's
But
fun.
obviously now you've done AmeriCamp for years, Freddie, 4, which is fantastic. If we have a lot of people who watch these podcasts and who inquire with us and engage in our social media, who just need that little bit of a oomph to do something like this. And because you got like a veteran now, why would you recommend someone to do AmeriCamp?
That's such a big question. I mean, first and foremost, I feel like I can. I'm not gonna push anyone, but I will say my experience, and I think that that will help other people with their decisions. In 2019, I was a completely different person to what I am now. That's in a social, that's in a work difference. I went into my first year. I'm really trying to think back to my first year. So it was so long ago. But after that first year, going into second year, but also coming back home after that first year of doing camp, I you learn a lot about yourself. It's all very cliche. You learn a lot about yourself. It's very much like I think I would even describe it as like doing like a gap year.
Yeah.
Like you after university doing the gap year or before university doing gap years where you find a lot about yourself. in situations, whether that's work, whether that's, with friends when you're out on in a different country that you're not used to. I think you find a lot of you're bound to find friendships. I mean, that is a guarantee.
Yeah.
And I definitely wanted to add this other piece of, people come to these camps from across the world, absolutely everywhere. It's not just from England. You have people from so many different cultures. And that is one of the biggest things that I learned in my first year. Was actually my first year, I think we had about 3 English people, British people even. So it wasn't even Scottish, Irish, nothing. So there's only 3 other people that spoke fluent English. The rest weren't, the English was their second language. And so the amount of, on a personal note, the amount of fun I had with people from different cultures, learning about their cultures, learning about what they do on their spare time compared to what, a regular, even English person would do. Learning languages, learning different phrases, even just the smallest things. I came away from the first year with a hell of a lot of, I don't know how to experience, just like XP, from just speaking to all these people, being around these people, working in another country is definitely, it's worth it. I'm gonna say it's worth it, but I had a great time. It's a phenomenal experience. I said to my friends when I came back, I said, you should all do it.
Yeah.
All do something, even if it's like a smaller role, bigger role. You should all do that kind of thing because it opens your eyes up to America, opens your eyes up to other cultures, and yeah, I can't praise it enough. Really, I mean, I've been doing it for 4 years, so my stand on it is genuinely a worthwhile experience that's changed my life. Put it that way.
Yeah, I've said exactly the same thing to all my friends. I've said you need to do it because everyone says it's cliche, but it's life changing. I say to everyone that I went my first year as a boy and then I came back as a man because I feel like it matures you so much that in ways that you can't even fathom. Like I look at myself pre first year camp and I think, who on earth is that? I went as an extrovert, gladly would say, no, I was so confident. And then I've come back in even more confident, but a different type of confidence. It's something that you can't learn, it's something that you have to experience. And I think that's just the beauty of cultural exchange programs, really. So, yeah, we're definitely on the same page with that one.
Yeah, I totally. I mean, when I go on my phone and look at photos and videos and randomly, and I'll go, "Oh, was that before camp or was that before,
Yeah.
after?" And I'll know the difference because it is a huge difference, as you say. It's huge.
It is, totally. Is there anything else, Freddie, that you kind of want to let everyone know about your experience, about your camp, anything that comes to mind?
Um, I think, just backing what we said earlier. I mean, as much as we want to praise these camps and we want to praise everything that goes on, as someone who's in charge of a lot of people coming from different cultures, different experiences and walks of life, please go into these experiences not with the biggest highest of hopes, being like, oh, it's just going to be a load of fun and just here for the traveling, if you will, because that is what a lot of people just go as. And so just backing what we said earlier about it's a job at the end of the day. And as long as you stick to that job and then afterwards you can have as much fun as you want. And it is worth it, that fun at the end or even in between. If you do day camps, as I said, our weekends are free. So for us, we're planning our weekends on Fridays and Thursdays where we go to DC, where we go to another city, another state, which is really fortunate for us. But as long as you are spending those days, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, weekends, whatever your work days are, really putting in the work because there's a lot of people that are behind these organizations and there's a lot of people that are riding on your talents, your patience, everything you're doing during the day. And we can't be everywhere every minute, around camp. So we had to put a lot of trust in these staff. So we want 100% from you. I know it's tough because it's a new experience. Some people waking up and like, oh my kids, and I get it, I totally get it. You're gonna be, I don't want to do, I want to be here right now. So you like get homesick and stuff like that, but it will be worth it. that's the final thing I'll probably say. It's always going to be worth it. It's very cliche, but there's so much fun, and you will walk away from it. I genuinely don't know any people that come away from it going, "Yeah, I could have done without that this summer." No one's comes away like that. You will take stuff away from that that you'll take away from that.
Yeah. Oh, spoken just perfectly. That's the
Yeah,
perfect thing to say because it's so true. It is so, so true. So Freddie, I just want to thank you so much for coming on the podcast and speaking about your summers. I am so excited for you this summer. Is it going to be your last year, are you thinking? Or
I think it will be. Yeah, I remember us speaking about like when you took a break and you're like, well, I need to come back here and do other stuff and grow up a bit and stuff like that. But there's new roles to be had at home. There's new roles and yeah, stuff to do here. So I think it will be.
yeah, I mean, life finds a way. You know, if you know that you need to go back, you will find a way to go back. I mean, I obviously am not going back this year, but who knows? I might go back another year, and I'd love to. But at the minute, I'm like, let's just stay here. But we will see. So yeah, thank you so much for jumping on. Obviously, your experience is so unique. I think it'll help people in so many different ways, especially from a day camp perspective, a leadership perspective. It just goes all hand in hand to help people realize what summer camp work actually entails as well. So thank you so much for coming on. I
Yeah,
just
it's been abs- Thank you.
no problem at all. If anyone has any questions, by the way, about kind of Freddie's experience or just about AmeriCamp in general, please get in touch with us because I can relay it back to Freddie. He can let me know the answers and I can let you know. So you can give us an email, you can call us, or you can drop us a message on any social media. But I just want to thank everybody for listening today. It's been fantastic to have Freddie on the podcast as well. And we shall see you all on the next episode. So goodbye, everybody.